Now we are going to start the next part. So that is a discussion or explanation, some more description about the book by Most Venerable Katukurunde Jnanananda Mahathero, Concept and Reality. I hope someone also ready. And actually now we are talking about the different possibilities of thought formations. And Katukurunde Thero is using a particular sutta, what we call as Yavakalapi Sutta. And so this actually we need to spend some time here without going forward, because of this is a very, very interesting area. And Buddha is explaining some deep aspects about the workings of the mind, how these thoughts are generated, how different thinking going to initiate. So what are the potentials happening? So what are the tendencies available? What are the very root causes to generate thoughts? And in this Savakalapi Sutta, therefore, Buddha talks about 5 such possibilities. And I invite someone to little bit discuss what you are showing, actually to read that passage, this paragraph, yes, where you are. Please, could you read that?
Shall I start from the it will be seen point or the...
Exactly. Yes. Yes, okay. Yes.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it will be seen that each of the 9 propositions given above is qualified by 5 adjectives: Mannitam, Injitam, Panditam, Papanchitam, and Managatam. These latter may be examined in the light of what we have already stated regarding the question of aspects in Buddhist psychology. Manyita, man, to think, points to the thought activity or imagination which gives rise to those propositions. Injita, inj, to move, reminiscent from the term eja, which is a synonym for tanha, probably refers to the emotional appeal of the propositions. Panditam, spanned, to throb, to palpitate, weaves them as characterized by the restless mental activity. Managatam, ma, to measure, traces their origin to the measuring and judging tendency inherent in conceptual activity, which is itself a constant process of value judgment. Papanchitam, prapanch, to spread out, to expand, may likewise imply the prolific tendency in conceptualization which gave rise to those propositions. The proposition asmi, I am, is the foremost prapanchita, and the Madhupindika Sutta has already shown us why it is to be reckoned a product of prapancha. The other propositions portray perhaps more clearly the prolificity in the realm of ideation, the individuating, generalizing, particularizing, and legitimizing tendencies which provide the scaffolding for theoretical superstructures. The particular context in which prapanchita occurs in this sutta thus lends color to the assumption that papancha signifies the inveterate tendency towards proliferation in the realm of ideation.
Okay, I think last time we discussed the first adjective, that is the manyita, where certain amount of explanation is given why and how the manyita can happen, manyana can happen, conceiving can happen, or the imagining can happen. And let me share a little note here so that you can get another little bit understanding. So basically, I have prepared this document summarizing what we are talking, what we call the Yavakalapi Sutta. So it's available in this Samyutta Nikaya Salayatana Samyutta. And as Jnanananda Thero is pointing out there are 5 main categories are there, or 5 main possibilities are there. Manyita, Injita, then Pandita, Papanchita and Managata. And each one is described using 9 propositions. And last time we discussed about the Manyita, and there the Bhikkhu Bodhi is giving the translation as conceiving. That means I-based thinking, conceiving. And Katukurunde Thero is using the term imagining, because they are it's related to the mind, and so using the mind one can imagine. So you imagine as a self, as a person, and then as a result of that we can imagine various things. So therefore I am is a conceiving, I am is an imagination, I am is this is a imagining, I shall be is an imagining. So likewise, so it's a kind of an imagination. So that is what we discussed last time. So today I thought of giving more attention to the second one, how this Injita happens. So as Katukurunde Thero just explained in that particular paragraph, so this term has come from the root of injana, or where the aja, which is coming from tanha. So the craving is there. So as a result of craving, how the mind get agitated. So the Katukurunde Thero is giving the term as agitation, translation of Injita as agitation, and Bhikkhu Bodhi is giving the translation as perturbation. Anyway, the idea is that the mind is in kind of a movement, agitation. Now, how the tanha, the craving, creates such kind of an agitation? That is something that we can recognize. So, say for example, you are trying to keeping your mind quiet. You want to keep it still, but while you are meditating, there may be a very beautiful song you can hear. And immediately this mind get attracted to that song because you like that song. So your mind get distracted to that song. So that is one way, as a result of your your desire or your attraction. So your mind has shifted. Your attention was shifted. And now suppose you get a very beautiful, pleasant smell while you are meditating. So your mind again get distracted, again get attracted to that particular smell. So again, mind is not where you want to be. Again, mind has gone and involved with that pleasant odor. Maybe there could be a kind of a unpleasant bodily discomfort might be there. Maybe little ache, little pain. Now you want to get rid of that. So that is also part of tanha, where you want to get rid of this pain. Vibhava tanha, you want to get out of that immediately. You want to quickly finish it. So there's again kind of a agitation happens in the mind, because currently there is no kind of a comfort, rather there's a discomfort. So that is making the mind agitated, because you prefer some more comfortable position. You prefer some more comfortable experience, kind of a joyful experience. But right now what is available is a little bit of discomfort. That also makes the mind agitated. Now suppose there are certain memory arise in your mind, which is a very pleasant memory. It has arisen with some pleasant sensation, maybe with some pleasant feeling. So now you want to enjoy that rather than keeping your attention on the breath, maybe. That means again your mind has distracted because of this mental object, which is a pleasant mental object, which you like to think about, which you like to sort of recall, again re-experience. So as a result of that, again mind has drifted. Now suppose you open your eyes. Now a beautiful sight is there. So your mind get again attracted to that sight. You can't simply keep your attention on the breath, because breath is a very neutral object. But what you see is a very beautiful sight. Again, your mind get attracted to that. Now you can see all these sight, sound, smells, taste, tangibles, and the mental objects. Whenever they become attractive, so there's an inner tendency to get immediately attracted to pull to that direction. It's a kind of pulling, kind of an attraction going on. Imagine how this is happening constantly through our six senses. Eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and the mind. So they are the six senses, so continuously. So these six senses are sort of providing various sense stimuli. And if they are attractive, so our mind can't remain still. So mind starts getting kind of disturbed, getting kind of agitated. Because again and again, it is being jumped to that object. Again, assume that you are taking it back. Again, it jumps to another one. Again, bring it back. Again, it jumps to another one. Kind of based on the pleasure principle. So we love to experience kind of happiness. We love to experience some pleasure. So whenever eye provides some pleasure, we are attracted to that. When our ear provides some pleasure, we are attracted to that. When our nose provides some pleasure, we are attracted to that. When our body provides some pleasure, we are attracted to that. When the mind is providing some pleasure, we are attracted to that. So likewise, we are being very much like six magnets. Our mind is very much in the middle. So whenever these magnets are being, say, electrocuted, activated, so then they become magnetized. So inside, in the middle, it's very much like our mind, like an iron ball. It's being attracted. Again, another one getting activated, again it being attracted. Something like that. So it's a constant agitation is there because the senses are in full operation and asking various satisfactions through each one. So we have to fulfill their request. So tanha, the craving, is always asking something. There are continuous demands coming from the tanha. Many desires. So many desires make the mind agitated. Say you are fallen in love with someone. So you are being attracted to someone. So your mind is constantly asking to see him or see her, to talk him, talk her, think about him, think about her. Because you can't keep your mind quiet. You can't keep your mind still. Mind being attracted. Mind is in agitated mood. You are restless in a way. So therefore, this tanha is in a way providing the mind kind of an agitated state. You can't keep it quiet now. Constantly it is being pulled. And on the other hand, so this is a never-ending kind of a process because we don't feel fulfilled by fulfilling the cravings orders. Suppose that you obeyed one order, obeyed one request, and you provided that. But the other issue is that tanha will ask another thing, another demand is there. Now we are trying to fulfill that demand. Now there could be another demand. Now we are going to fulfill that demand. So this is a never-ending process. So that is why by simply providing or simply satisfying these desires, we can't make it an end. There are endless desires. So endless desires make the mind agitated. So that's why in the meditation, we are closing our eyes, keeping the surrounding quite silent and keep the mouth closed. We are not eating, tasting anything, and there is no a particular smell. So as much as possible, senses are very much inactive, not really in an active mood. So only the mind, we are trying to relax, take it to the present moment. And again, it is also given a very neutral object where your mind is not getting distracted. So now we are getting to a different domain where the senses are no more stimulating the mind. Rather, we are getting to a present moment experience, kind of realistic experience. It is not pulled by something. Rather, there are the possibilities very much like you are somewhat recognizing what is really going on. You are not being pulled by anything. Rather, you have some kind of an independence, particularly when you are somewhat developed in your vipassana, where you assume that you are able to take your mind to a position where there is no desire, that there is no any kind of pulling going on, there is no craving, at least for a moment. So at that moment, the mind can be released. Because the craving is the one holding the mind. Craving is the mind. Craving is the reason for binding the mind. And the moment that we understand this operation, there's a possibility that mind can be released even. So there are various suttas actually we can discuss on this matter. So I have summarized few of them where so this raga, this lust, is actually a cause of limiting the mind. So the mind may have a kind of a tremendous amount of potential, but this raga, the lust, is actually making it very narrow. Suppose that you love someone and you can only see her, only see him. The mind has become somewhat restricted. You can't open up. So it's completely in a constrained, a very narrow way of looking at. So your mind is completely engulfed with something. So there's a quality of this lust, quality of this hatred and delusion. So it constricts the mind. It can't open up. And on the other hand, now there are various areas with the term injita, the certain questions are being asked. And here I have found few examples from various suttas. In one occasion, one Brahmin called Nissarana, and he's asking from the Buddha, who is contented in this world? And who is the one who not experiencing any agitation? Who is the one completely contented? And who is the one who does not experience any kind of agitation? Then Buddha answers that, Kamesu Brahmacharyeva, Vita Tanho, Sada Sato, Sankhaya Nibbuto Bhikkhu, Tassa no Santi Injita. So there Buddha is answering, Kamesu Brahmacharyeva. So there are various pleasurable objects, but one is maintaining kind of a celibacy, maintaining kind of a restraint, meaning quite restrained body, mind, the speech, though you are in the sensual realm. So that means you are not completely cutting off anything, but things are there, but you can maintain kind of a relaxed mind. Even though you can see, even though you can hear, smell, taste, thoughts are coming, but still you can maintain the mind quiet, undistracted, unattached. So that's a kind of a skill that we need to develop. That is highlighted here. And then Vita Tanho, obviously the one, the mind is free from any craving. Now, on the other hand, Sada Sato, you can see continuously mindful, always mindful. Because continuously these things are operating, you are quite vigilant, you are quite mindful. And Sankhaya Nibbuto Bhikkhu. So one has comprehended and then quenched that tanha. Tassa no santi injita. If so, there is no any kind of an agitation. So you can see, if we want to be free from agitation, that means we have to keep the mind free from much desires. So if you have too many desires, so it can make the mind agitated. There are unfulfilled desires, unfulfilled ambitions. You are being burned by various desires. But if you have less desires, so that means less agitation. And on the other hand, you have to be mindful, because always there are various possibilities, vulnerabilities there. So you have to be on guard. You have to be mindful. Sankhaya Nibbito Bhikkhu. So that means, so he has comprehended the situations. So he fully understands the situation. And as a result of that, he is able to calm down himself. And by abandoning the craving. So the agitation and craving are really related. So in this sense. So that's why, as Katakurunde Thero pointed out, so this injana has the root coming from eja, the tanha, the craving. And again, there's another sutta where this injana is highlighted, the agitation is highlighted. That is Dvaitanupassana Sutta, again in the Sutta Nipata, where Buddha points out, whatever the suffering happens, whatever the suffering originates, it happens because of this kind of an agitation. And if it is possible to abandon all agitations, that means calm down, there is no agitation, then there is no suffering. And there are again some interesting verses are there. Yankinji dukkhang sambhoti sabbang injita paccaya injitanang nirodhena natti dukkhasa sambhavu. So whatever the suffering originates, that happens because of agitation, conditioned by agitation. And if there is the cessation of agitation, then there is no suffering. Etamadinavan nyattva dukkhang injita paccaya tasmahi ejang vassajya sankhare uparundhiya anejo anupadano sato bhikkhu paridvaji. So there are a few terms he also repeated. Anejo anupadano sato. So that means there is no agitation, no clinging or grasping, and the mindfulness is there also. Sato. So you have to have kind of a very aware mind. Continuously awareness should be there. And on the other hand, mind is not grasping anything, not holding anything, not clinging to anything. So that means mind is unassociating anything, not associating anything. Mind is freed. And that freed mind, liberated mind, at least even temporary, is something that we need to recognize. And there is no clinging. So when there is no clinging, there is no I making, there is no mind making, there is no person. You can't feel ego. Because upadana, clinging is a prerequisite for ego to manipulate, for ego to sort of manifest. If you are able to maintain a free mind, non-grasping state of mind, so that means the mind is calm, relaxed, quiet, no agitation. Mind is in a contented mood. So sometimes during the meditation, we come to a state, okay, mind has become relaxed, mind has calmed down. There is no any kind of a friction. There are no thoughts much. Now probably we may ask, what am I going to do next? So that very question is a sankhara. That very question is a cause of agitation. So if we have arrived the destination, if we have arrived some kind of a milestone, so there we have to take a rest. Particularly when the mind has given up all graspings. So it has become completely freed from all the sense impingements. Sense stimuli no more bothers it. Kind of a clarity of the mind is there. Mind has become still. So once you arrive this stillness, so you have to remain calm. You have to sort of teach the mind to be contented. So how to be contented when there are no desires? So there is no any agitation and you are arrived some kind of a peaceful state and now just be quiet. Now just be. Don't do anything. Now allow the mind to relax. Allow the mind to calm down. So there's something very difficult in a way, even though we can tell it's quite difficult because our mind has the kind of a property of agitation. It can't remain quiet. It can't remain calm. It can't take a rest. We don't know how to stop reacting. We don't know how to stop doing. So actually we need to change our whole vocabulary from doing to being. So far we are struggling, we are sort of doing this and that. Now once you arrive this, just be. So we are changing the gears to the being mode. Now we are just be. Relax, calm down. So you may not experience any kind of an agitation. So this is a kind of at the beginning, this could be a purposeful decision that you may be taking once you arrive there. Because otherwise, these desires again come to the surface and this ingena can again agitate the mind. And it may ask, what am I going to do next? That's a completely irrelevant question. So you are simply there, you have achieved kind of peacefulness, calmness, non-grasping state, freedom of the mind, and just enjoy that. So likewise we can see this tanha is one area that we need to work out. And there, as Buddha points out, it is the one causing the whole sort of suffering. So that's why the cause of suffering is the dukkha samudaya satya. Tanha is given the prominence. Tanha is recognized as the cause of suffering. So here, when we are talking the agitation, so the root cause of agitation is the tanha. As a result of tanha, as a result of craving, agitation happens. So if we are able to keep the mind free from tanha, free from craving, then the mind may experience calmness. Mind may experience non-agitation. Mind become quiet, mind become peaceful without an agitation. So this is some area that we need to explore as we meditate. And on such situation, actually we can say you are quenched. There are no thirst. There is no thirst, and so your mind is very much like in a quenched situation. There is no inner thirst. You can relax, you can calm down. Okay, with that note, I like to conclude today's actually the session. I mean coming from this Yavakalapi Sutta, so we may have to spend few weeks discussing each attribute, each section. And now if you have any question, and please take this opportunity to discuss that.
Sarai Bhante, we have four questions today.
Right.
Question number 1 of 4 on mindful sitting. Dear Venerable Bhante, I do continuous sitting. I do continuous. Seems to be an X coming through. Okay. I'll start again. Question number 1 of 4. Mindful sitting. Dear Venerable Bhante, I do continuous sitting meditation for about 45 minutes to 1 hour most of the days. And I can feel substantial change of my life compared to previous status of my mind. As we all have to maintain our lifestyle with society, time to time we have to meet people, especially Sri Lankans, and feel very uncomfortable to stay much longer as the interest of majority is different to the way I think. I know months ago I was in the same boat and didn't have any issues to spend longer hours while chatting and drinking. When I come home, I feel a bit sad as I will have to spend another 2 to 3 hours to refine my mind to come back to the pure status I had. I don't have any issue with my official gatherings and parties occasionally. I enjoy a lot their behavior, just investigate the behavior of them before and after drink, and I try to match with Buddhist learnings and where we will end up if we don't follow the truth in this world. Anyway, I feel like I am in a position of nowhere. I started to write this Kamatahan while working, as after 1 hour of great meditation. I started my work and feel very sad, boring, without having any reason. I really feel like crying, but I know this is a part of the way to realize the truth. So I don't want to talk to anybody like earlier to go away from this situation. I thought to write to you, Bhante, and get advice from you to continue my way towards the Nirvana. I write this to let you know how hard it is for people like us to follow this path, and so sorry to write this much long report. Lot of complaints and grieving. As always, appreciate your time and guidance and advice for us. Thero Saranai. That's the end of the question.
Yeah, I think one thing is that we should not too much talk about the downside, various downfalls, maybe the country, or maybe politics, maybe cricket, or maybe the wars. So if we have things to worry, there are many things we can use to worry us. There are many issues all around the world, many issues within Sri Lanka. So there are many things to worry us, to make us unhappy. And there's a tendency in our mind also to take one after the other, and we get worried about that. And different people have their different opinions about this and that, and we get into arguments, and we are wasting fair amount of time and continuously worrying, something to be worried. So this is a bad habit actually we have. So our mind always asking something to be worried, something to get concerned, something to be afraid. So this is a wrong psychological tendency we have. And by knowing that, probably we can maybe associate someone who is a little more positive, maybe going in a different direction. So there are only few people, by the way, looking the world or the life like that, because others are always complaining, always finding fault, always talking about the politics, always talking about the economy. So there are many things people can worry, and they are spreading that bad vibration. So if we know that, probably we can avoid such association. And again, if we want to associate, we can associate like-minded people, like-minded in the sense the ones who are at least have selected a good path. Because making a country happy, making the whole world perfect will never happen. Only temporary solutions this world has. This is a conditioned world. So that's what we are trying to understand as impermanence. And it is unsatisfactory. And even though we feel that we have at least some control, we have only very limited control. So that's why we are now trying to find out an alternative solution. That is a within solution. It's not an outside solution. Now we are trying to find out a solution within ourselves. So even when the outside world is going through chaos, is it possible for me to keep the mind undisturbed? So this is a challenge. So if you want to keep your mind happy by making the world completely happy, you can't achieve it. So there are, as I mentioned, there are many things to be worried. So you can't make the world perfect. You can't make the country perfect. You can't make the economy perfect. You can't make the family perfect. You can't make the monastery perfect. But you can try to keep your mind at least without any worry, without any disturbance or agitation, as we discussed today. So that requires practice. The practice helps us to navigate our life with less friction. It doesn't mean that we may not come across various difficulties or problems, but at least those problems and difficulties can be manageable, or we can at least tolerate that, be patient with that, and again keep the mind fairly resilient to them. So this is a kind of a spiritual quality that we are talking. So how to spiritually stronger on such situations? Actually, nowadays we have a challenging situation everywhere. So we may definitely need this kind of a spiritual ability to maintain a healthy mind. So that's what we are trying to do through these sessions. So how we are learning, how we are understanding how the mind internally works, so that even when the external conditions are sort of unfavorable, is it possible for me to keep the mind without getting to worries? So that is in a way, the promise of the Buddha, that if one practices properly about mindfulness for Satipatthanas, Buddha promised that your worries become less and less. Sorrows become less and less. Lamentation become less and less. Soka pariddavana samatikkamaya. Dukkha domanassanam atthangamaya. So this is a kind of a promise that Buddha gives. But we need to practice quite a long time to have such a undisturbed mind. So therefore, don't worry too much about these things. You can, rather than trying to make the world perfect, trying to make your friends perfect, try to make the mind more sort of illuminated, more understandable, matured. So that may be another approach that we can take. Back to you, Chamila.
Question number 2 of 5, mindful walking. Dear Bhante, during walking practice, after establishing mindfulness, I usually feel lethargic and start getting distracted to some internal thoughts and chatter. These are very subtle, and within a round or two, I realize quickly the distraction and come back to the walking practice automatically. Are these prapancha or just mere thoughts coming up and going away during the practice? How can we distinguish prapancha and its multifaceted outcomes? With metta, that's the end of the question.
Yeah, the level of prapancha or the proliferation actually is where we lose our control. So we have become completely a victim of that. But if you are able to recognize, oh, now the mind is talking, there is unnecessary chatter going on, there's certain thinking going on. So that means you are not really a victim of that prapancha. The prapancha terminology basically means that we are very much like have victimized to that inner overthinking, obsessive thinking, and so there we are being captivated to that. But if you are able to understand, okay, now the mind is talking and this is unnecessary, I better calm down the mind. So that means you are already stepped out of it. And you are now trying to work out, you are now trying to further calm down the mind. So that's a good sign. So I hope, Chamila, that is the question asked. If I didn't answer that totally, please repeat the question.
Question number 3 of 5. This is on Dhammasaman. Dear Bhante, today's explanation on injita and craving as a cause was very clear, and the outcome of agitated mind. Is there a direct link between craving or tanha and prapancha? Or is it indirect, as with many other things? With metta, that's the end of the question.
Yeah, so as you know that we discussed in the same book that there are triple proliferations, triple tendencies of the proliferation, tanha, ditti, mana. So tanha is one aspect of prapancha. So tanha, the craving, is one area the mind can start getting agitated. As a result of that, start thinking, because you are worried. So you are attracted to something, you are sort of pulled to something, you start thinking. So what is going to happen to me? Is it possible to possess that, possess this, possess him, possess her, attach to him, attach to her? So various desires are now operation. Now you start thinking. So tanha is one promoting factor of prapancha. So that's why typically sometimes even the prapancha is somewhat narrowed down definition given based on the tanha ditti mana. Tanha is the craving, ditti is the views, mana is the conceit. Actually, in this sutta, so Buddha points out there are a few other possibilities available. Tanha is, of course, one aspect which promotes craving, rather, which promotes proliferation. So it is there. So that's why if we have less craving, if we have less desires, so that means less agitation, and mind can be sort of quiet. Mind can remain calm, relaxed, because less desires are there. As a result of that, less agitation is there. No craving. So that means no inner proliferation.
Question number 4 of 5. This is a general question. Dear Venerable Bhante, can you please explain briefly what is Bhavatanha and Vibhavatanha? Much merits. That's the end of the question.
Yeah. So that's a very good question. So Bhavatanha, Vibhavatanha fairly interrelated. And suppose that you are in a situation, say you are in a train which is fairly crowded and you are sitting and it's quite uncomfortable. So you immediately want to get out of it. You want to end the journey quickly. So you have a desire to come out of it. So now that desire, that is also a desire that you are sort of repelled by that experience. You are rejecting that experience, and that rejection, that you are refusing that experience, that you want to get rid of that experience. So that is the Vibhavatanha. On the other hand, once you sort of come out of that experience, now you want to become more comfortable. So there's an inner yearning, in a request for you to have a comfortable position, a comfort. Maybe with a fan or maybe with some breeze. And you want to experience that bliss rather than being, squeezed in a crowded train. So there's a kind of a craving in the mind, which is imagining that comfortable state. And you are yearning that, you are asking that, and your mind is inclined towards that kind of a state. Still, it is not available, by the way, but you are imagining that. Your mind is inclined towards that. So that is the Bhavatanha, where always our mind is inclined towards something. But present moment, not happy, not contented. But kind of a future moment is there, that is what I am going to be happy. So that Bhavatanha is where your mind is now inclined towards something more comfortable, more luxurious or pleasurable, and you reject the present unhappy, little painful, discomfort experience. So the Bhavatanha and Vibhavatanha therefore are fairly related. And on the other hand, actually we can see by imagining this new comfortable state and assume that once you are trying to sort of fulfill that imagined state. So you are thinking about that. Say you are closing your eyes and you are even imagining that. You can even live or pre-live that new experience, new comfortable experience by the mind. So these are all kind of makes ourselves drift at the present moment. And again, the imagination may be based on the Kama Tanha also. So you are imagining very comfortable, very luxurious vehicle. So why can't my husband buy such a beautiful, say luxurious vehicle? Why should I always have to travel these crowded trains? So you are now attaching that even to the, to the sensual desires as well. So they are fairly interrelated. Back to you, Chamila.
Yes, sir. Yes, question number 5 of 5. This again on the Dhamma sermon. Dear Bhante, when we reach a state in the meditation where there is no agitation and volitional activities, Bhante mentioned to maintain just be stillness. Will this alone weaken tanha and enable totally non-grasping release? Or the release needs more insights and maturity in meditation? With metta, that's the end of the question.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So basically, what I meant was that you have arrived, you have gone through a fair amount of practice, where, say, for example, you practice anapanasati. Through that, you are able to somewhat concentrate the mind. And once that concentration is available, say you practice elements meditation, maybe you practice Vedananupassana, and as a result of that, maybe you are able to understand their true nature, how impermanent they are, how unsatisfactory they are, how non-self they are. So these are all the insights. So once these insights are fairly matured, now you may arrive a state where everything appears like a flux, and you can't distinguish this and that. Everything appears like a flux. So you have a little bit of disenchantment, little lethargic feeling about the experience. So mind becomes somewhat dispassionate about the experience. Now the mind is fairly free from all these experience. Now that is the state where we need to be quiet or just be. So that is the area that we need to understand. Okay, now the mind has abandoned all these conditioned phenomena, at least for a moment. So once I am there, I just be. So now don't create more sankharas, more fabrications. Rather, now we have to transfer the mode to the being mode. We were doing, but now we have to transfer it to the being mode. So once we are in the being mode, we just be. With the mind unassociated, with the mind unattached, without any grasping. So that has to be familiarized. So this state has to be familiarized. Without familiarizing it, we can't move forward. And the moving forward also happens by keeping the mind fairly free from prapancha, free from thinking, overthinking, and sort of resting the mind, and dispassionate about the various other external things. So that is why Buddha summarized that this level of development happens by giving prominence for viveka, viraga, nirodha. Viveka nisitam, viraga nisitam, nirodha nisitam was Sagga Parinama. We need to further develop, but the attitude has changed. Now very much like you are relaxing the mind, calming down the mind, and dispassionate about various other incidents, external affairs, and all that sense stimuli happens. You have a certain amount of dispassion towards them because you understood their true nature. Those are the insights. And you are keeping the mind empty from any phenomena. And you are recognizing this potential available in the mind. So without living that, or without experiencing that, without familiarizing that, so we can't simply sort of logically convince the mind. So this is a kind of a training. We have to live that experience for a longer period, then only we can start appreciating that. And that is where another different dimensions start opening, like how these conditions are causing suffering, agitation, how eye-making, mind-making happens. And all that different insights are further emphasized or strengthened while we are further familiarizing that state.
We have another question number 6 of 6. It's a Dhammasaman question again. Dear Bhante, can we say Vibhava Tanha is aversion or dosha? That's the end of the question.
It can cause aversion, yes. It can cause dosha. Now say the little example that I took. So you are in a crowded train. So you are being sweating and others are also, touching and really crowded train. And so it can create aversion, definitely. So you want to get rid of it quickly, but you have to bear it because the next station is far away. So there are long trip, but really crowded train. There is no excuse, and you get agitated, you get frustrated, and you can even be angry with someone. Someone may even touching, and the crowd is squeezed. you can even get angry. Easily can get angry. So the Vibhava Tanha, therefore, easily can get into the anger, aversion as well. But it may start as a little resistance or little refusing of the present experience. I want to get rid of it. So that is the inner appeal coming from. But it can convert to a aversion with someone. Yes.
Yes. So that's the end of the written questions. We have a few more minutes. Bhante will ask if anyone is available.
Please go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if anyone has any questions they would directly like to present to Bhante, please raise your hand. Yes. I will unmute you, Bhante. Yeah. You can unmute yourself and ask a question.
Thank you, Bhante. Theruvan Saranai. When you talk about tanha, in some situations, like for us in the past when there were some energy problems, we were asked by the government to, control our energy usage because of the different aspects. Mm-hmm. And in situations like that, we do obey those rules. And sometimes at home also, without wasting due to environmental conditions, we do try and obey those things. Are those also categorized as tanha then?
No, I don't think so. Basically, so here tanha is where you are being pulled by something, you are being driven by something, but it is not that we are sort of analyzing the situation and we are properly managing the things. So we as humans, as socially responsible people, so we may have various demands and we may have to adhere to rules and regulations. And those we can't say coming from the tanha, so that is we have to adhere to. And I feel therefore there is no harm in doing that. But here the idea is very much like, so internally there is kind of a boiling going on. Internally you are not happy. So when the tanha is there, so internal conflict is there. Your mind is crowded, your mind is burdened. And say, for example, government has restricted the fuel. Fine. So they restricted the fuel. Now, internally, if I am demanding more and more, so I can't be satisfied with what is given, that quota, then my mind start complaining, this is really a bad government, this all are crazy and all are this, all are that. So start complaining, start getting agitated, start sort of frustrated. So that is the craving in operation. On such situation, if we know the limit, if we know how to manage things, so that is a kind of a skill. How to be contented with little. So that's why in the Dhamma sometimes talks about the apicchata.
Okay.
Where we may have little, but with that little things we can still be happy. Apicchata, but still santuttita. So you can see even today's this very difficult like questions. So Buddha has given a very interesting answer. It is not that we are trying to spend a lot of money and acquire so many things. Rather, you know exactly what you need, what are the essentials. You have that. That may be very little. And with that, you are still happy. Not that you are desiring this and that and you can't acquire things. You may have the essentials, but with that essentials, you are quite happy. Santuttita is also there. Contentment is also there. So likewise, sometimes these economical questions, we never think about something like that. We may want to get a loan and then buy more things. But how about be happy with what we have? How to be, there's a beautiful term called prudent, or what's that? Frugal. So likewise, So these are never taught by the economist, how to be frugal, how to be contented with little we have. But Buddha always has advice on these lines.
Yeah, so we can share with the poor people or the people who haven't got that even. So
Exactly,
that way, so by looking at it like that, you are not being tanha or, trying to. So that's what I thought, but I thought I need to clarify that because.
And on the other hand, there are even situations like even the things are, when the others are complaining, you still feel even gratitude of having at least a little. Because there are maybe countries that they don't have fuel at all, they don't have even freedom to walk, they don't have even freedom to talk. They are going through a completely bad situation. Now, say for example, like Palestine now, Gaza. Extremely bad situation is going on. Now, with compared to that, so we are in a very comfortable situation. So we never start appreciating or have any kind of gratefulness, but we always have the attitude of complaint. So never be happy with that kind of a mentality. But if we are able to have something to be glad, as Bhante Dhammajiva points out sometimes, the glad game. So then probably we can be happy. I mean, there is something always to be happy, to be glad.
Okay. All right. So it's not the way by limiting ourselves, but adhering to these rules, we are not, making us tanha and yeah. So that's the way. All right. Thank you, Bhante. Teruvan Saranai.
Yeah, Teruvan Saranai.
Yes, Samantha, I'll just unmute you as well. We have about a few minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bhante. I'll just be quick. I was just wondering why, just generally, the nature of the mind is always tend to be like down, if I'm correct. I don't know whether I heard somewhere or I think I may have listened to a program. And one has to have a lot of energy and effort to have upbeat and happiness all the time. And just naturally, it's like going from order to disorder. Everything is just going down. And that's the way the universe, or maybe, I don't know, maybe the universe is. And we're going up against the grain to keep it, prop it up. Why is that natural? Is that a natural phenomenon? Why it's like that?
I think, it may be a kind of a natural, but on the other hand, there are certain personal traits also. There are some people, I mean, they are fun, like always cracking jokes and always laugh. So there are such people who are always, that they are happy with now. I mean, even all of us have that kind of a life when we are kids. So we are quite joyful and enjoyable, and we have, I mean, a lot of friends, and we are laughing, and so that is there. But as we are growing up, we start looking around, and we want to grab many things. We want to have many things, and my own car, my own wife, my own husband, my own house. So now the craving is growing. So we are in a way promoting craving. So that craving makes us more unhappy. So craving has given us such emphasis that we always start complaining because I can compare with another one who is better than me. So I want that. So I can't be happy right now. So because I need that. So I'm unhappy. So likewise, the craving is playing a big role, making us unhappy. So if we are able to recognize that craving, and if we are able to give up that craving, that is a situation where our mind starts happy. That's why in the Four Noble Truths, you can see the importance that Buddha has given for craving. So craving is the culprit, which is making the mind unhappy. And if we are able to recognize that craving, so the Buddha's advice is simply to abandon that. Dukkha samudayang ariya saccang pahatabba. You need to abandon the craving. Rather than trying to fulfill craving, one has to abandon craving. So the lesser the craving we have, more happy would be the mind. So in a way, we are now trying to be more happy. So Buddha's teaching, in that sense, by abandoning craving, so we are developing happiness. Nibbanang paramang sukha. So that is where Buddha mentioned, okay, the Nibbana is the ultimate kind of happiness. So more and more, so the practice help us to abandon craving, relax the mind, less burdening the mind, so that your mind is more and more peaceful. So that peace has to be internally felt. Actually, I can remember one yogi telling during that sutta teaching session I typically conduct on the Wednesday mornings. He is very beautifully explained how he is developing the meditation, and slowly he is recognizing what are the defilements available. If there are no defilements, again the mind is quiet, quite happy, and now the mind has released, mind has no grasping, no craving. Now he is checking whether kind of spaciousness is there. Yes, now mind is spacious. There is no boundary in the mind. There is no agitation. Mind has complete vastness. And ultimately he is mentioning how grateful I am. Kind of a gratitude arisen in me. It's a very smoothing practice, very happy practice. So actually if we are practicing more and more, even though the world is going through a lot of difficulties, that is obvious, and we have to find our own path, how to maintain a mind at least not getting agitated, not getting too much involved. Because we being unhappy does not contribute anything to the world. And we being individually frustrated does not contribute any positive thing to the world. But if I can be still happy or contented or not getting frustrated, or you are maintaining kind of peacefulness within you, so it can become a very good vibration to the others. Others are also will look at you, and they also start sort of practicing, and you become a kind of a role model. So that's why you can see, I mean, even by seeing the Buddha's image, so you can feel kind of serenity by simply seeing him, how serene it is, how serene the Buddha statue is. So likewise, I mean, we internally, when we are developing such kind of qualities, so that becomes a blessing to myself as well as to the others.
Thank you, Bhante. That's really helpful. So the key is to keep practicing, and that's the only way we can turn around through meditation.
Yes, I think it mean that we should never try to say makes the world something better. If we have something to do, if we can do some contribution, we can do that. But I don't think that we can make it perfect, by the way.
Yeah. Thank you, Bhante. I
think we have gone a little over time as well, so we will end the program for today, Bhante.
Yeah. And there's an announcement also, Chamila, that hope you know that I won't be able to conduct the session next week.
Yeah, so we will have our practice session, half an hour walking and half an hour sitting. That normally we do, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So to end the program, I would first like to pass our merits and thank Bhante for his valuable time, even with the busy schedule at the monastery, to all the supporters of this program, both seen and unseen, and to the participants for joining today to practice and share their questions. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Theruvan Saranai Saranai.
Yeah, Theruvan Saranai.